part 2 of the Wilton 3D unicorn video. As I stated before, if you need help with the shape and blending tray, refer back to video 1. Let's get started. So we created the rug. In the next segment, I'm going to create the body of the unicorn. The body of the unicorn calls for dough, a combination to be made from number 11 and from number 8. So I'm going to push the dough into those 2 cavities. Now keeping in mind that one of the ways that you use this sizing and blending tray is through the use of a color chart. And that color chart would tell you which amount of shape and amaze dough or fondant color that you would use in order to blend the 2 colors together to make the color for the character. So I'm going to combine number 11 and number 8. Just set that aside. I'll take the 2 pieces to make one, and I'll roll it between my hands. And if I were using fondant, I would use the same technique. The whole purpose of creating kind of a ball in your hand and applying pressure is to get all of the lines out of the fondant or the Play-Doh for that matter. So the directions want us to take this ball and make a cone shape. So I'm just going to roll that between my hands. And the cone is supposed to be 2 inches. I have my ruler here, and according to the ruler, this is about 2 inches. So what I'll do is I'll continue to shape it. The directions also want this cone to have a flat bottom and to have it leaning slightly forward. So continue to do that, shape it up. Our finished product should have a bottom, slightly leaning forward, and about 2 inches in length. And what we'll do at this point is we'll set this aside, and then we will work on the back legs. The next thing we're going to do are the back legs. We need 2 back legs. The sizing chart wants them to be a number 4. So we're going to have to use our dough in sizing spot number 4. I have my first leg, and I will put the second piece of dough in to create the second leg. Put my sizing chart to the side. So what we have to do is shape these legs into a gourd shape. So what comes to your mind when you think of a gourd? Do you think of a squash? And each of the legs is to be about we're going to roll each piece of dough into a gourd shape. We'll continue rolling the smaller end into the short leg leaving the other end round and bulbous. Flatten the bulb, and I'm going to use the knife tool to score around the end of the narrow end to make a hoof. Then I'm going to attach the legs, the wide flat end, to the body, and if you were using fondant, you would use a damp sponge. So we're going to repeat that with the next leg. So one of the things that we need to be aware of is that one of these legs is going to be a little bit shorter than the other. Because if you noticed in the picture, one of the legs is slightly bent and the other leg seems to extend from the back. So we're looking for a gourd shape, and we want to narrow the top. So you just roll that between your fingers. You see it's a little bulbous at the bottom. And that bulbous piece, it's what's going to create the hoof. Let me check my measurements. This should be about 2 inches. So we flatten the bottom. And at this point, I'm going to take my knife tool and just create a line around the bottom. And it's going to be symbolic of the hoof. And we're also supposed to slightly flatten it at the top. And that's to make it stick to the body. So that's our first leg. So we're going to massage the dough once again. Roll it into a ball. And we're going to make a similar leg. Let's check the size. It's just about 2 inches. We're going to flatten the bottom. Once again, we're going to take the knife tool and just go around the bottom to create the hoof. We have our 2 legs. The next thing we're going to do is attach the legs to the body. Now, because I'm using Play-Doh, I won't be using water to attach them, but what I have done is I've cut small pieces of a stirrers that I showed you in the beginning. And I have a few small pieces here that I'm going to use as attachments for some of the body parts. And that was simply done by just taking a scissor and cutting them on an angle. So I will keep 2 of these out. And then we will move on to attaching the legs to the body. So I have the body back from where we set it aside. And once again, I'm going to reiterate that it's slightly forward. Here's one of the legs, and here's the other leg. So I've slightly flattened it. And what I'm going to do for the sake of this demo, if you're using fondant, you're going to use water. I'm just going to place this little piece of straw into the body, and I'm going to attach that leg. And notice that I'm going to bend it slightly. I'm going to do the same thing with the second leg. I'm going to put the straw in. I'm going to attach the second leg. I think we're going to move that back just a little bit. So that our unicorn now has his two legs, one slightly bent and one coming forward. So his body is still coming forward just a bit.